I am one of few people that will always back Zack Snyder whenever I get a chance to. Not those kind of Snyder fans that are toxic, but the fact that I appreciate his films, but I can't back him up for this, and it's truly a shame. We are back with Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon Part 2, a few months after the release of Part 1, A Child of Fire. Now this was a film, well, these were a set of films which I was looking forward to, build up anticipation, and I was invited to both premieres. I was very lucky enough to receive these invitations, and I loved the build up to it, I loved the premieres, but the issue is that the film lacked a lot of stuff, and let's talk more about it. If you watch Part 1 in the build up of Part 2, then you probably understand what's going on, but the fact is, if you watched this film back in December and you didn't bother rewatching again in anticipation for Part 2, you won't know exactly what's going on, and that's where it lies the problem. There is no emotional connection to the characters. You barely remember what happens in the story in the first film. The way I think of it, it was supposed to be like a Seven Samurai movie in space, and of course they were trying to say that Lucasfilms weren't interested in this sort of franchise or what Zack Snyder was trying to create. The one thing I always do like about Zack Snyder films is the visuals. That's the issue. The visuals are the only good things about this movie, and it could have been better if he chose the right cinematographers for this film. This would be the ultimate drinking game. If you took a shot for every single time there was a slow-mo shot, you'll probably be dead by halfway through the film. And I'm not even joking, I am truly serious. If this film had a cinematographer like Fabian Wagner, who did Zack Snyder's Justice League, a few episodes of Game of Thrones, I think visually it would have been stunning. And the thing is, you can also tell what kinds of cameras they're using. They're using Red cameras or Vive Raptors 8K cameras, one of the first of its kind. Or maybe using an Arri-Cam or Arri-Flex. It could have brought more colours, more vibrancy, more depth in the shots. And bring it back to the slow-mo shots, that some of the shots were greatly introduced, but then the slow-mo shots came into play. I'm like, wow. And if I looked at the time and saw, hang on, this movie is 2 hours long. Does that mean there's only 1 hour of actual footage which is not slowed down? And I will say this, I believe in the auteur theory. I believe every director has a significant style. Like J.J. Abrams is known for his lens flares. Michael Bay is known as Bayhem for his over-the-top action set pieces. But Zack Snyder is known for his slow-mo, but his slow-mo was used in the most unnecessary situations, like cutting wheat. When watching a film of this scale, you're supposed to feel something for the characters. You're supposed to care for them. You're supposed to have some sort of some sort of connection to them, but I didn't. The backstory of characters are explored through flashbacks, and oh my god, what? It's like something right in front of you. This is a backstory of this character, let's have a flashback. Here's a backstory of this character, let's have a flashback. And they go all around the table, and I'm like, this is either very lazy writing or they ran into an issue during production. This could have been done effectively throughout the film, instead of convoluting it all in one setting. I think having the name the Scargiver could have been better established. Yes, Korra has given a scar to Atticus Noble at the end of Part 1, and yeah, I guess they call the second film the Scargiver, but that's it. There's nothing significant about it. Just because they got a scar when they got killed doesn't mean you should name the film after that very moment. But people do have a thesis about why she's called a Scargiver, because wherever she goes, she leaves death and destruction, and she scars people around her, hence the term Scargiver. So it depends on which way you go about it, but I'm really hoping that it's not the first thing that I said that it relates to. Someone even said, you might as well call this Rebel Moon Part 2 Epic Slow-Mo Farming Simulator. And I think that says a lot. If you watch this film, you know exactly what I'm talking about within the first half an hour, 45 minutes. If I was in the board meeting in creating Rebel Moon Part 1 and 2, the first thing I would say is, Zack, you're directing this movie. Fair enough. I like your style, but you're going to have a cinematographer with you, a cinematographer that you worked with before, a cinematographer that can give you the exact sort of stylistic choices and camera and colour and thematics that can work with your story. And also, I'm going to give you a writer, or a bunch of writers that can actually take your storyboards and put it on paper, and then we can bring it to screen. That is how I would have done it, because having Zack Snyder doing everything all in one, it's not a good move. He is talented in a couple of areas, but not all areas. And I love the man. I genuinely love the man. I would fight by his side every single time for all of his films. Especially the fact that I will say Zack Snyder's Justice League is one of the best superhero films that I've seen, and many people would disagree with me on that, but that's fine. And I know you all heard the stories of Lucasfilm rejecting Zack Snyder's idea for Rebel Moon, and that Zack Snyder saying this could be a great take on the Star Wars universe. But now I'm thinking, Wait, they were kind of dodging a bullet in that sense, but that's where they dropped the ball. I'm just disappointed. This was a franchise which I was kind of hoping that it would take off. It just has me grabbing straws at what Zack has made in the past and holding on to them as opposed to what he's made this time round. Well, Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, what did you think of it? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was a convoluted mess? Let me know in the comments.